Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Asti Afifa Den Septarini from class 2021A. So I will presenting about our group work in Psycholinguistics text 1. Okay. So the first question is, what are the main characteristics that all languages have in common? So one language can vary significantly in their specific features and structures. They share some common characteristics. So here are some of the main characteristics that are generally found in all language. First is grammar. All language have rules governing how words combine to create meaningful sentences. All language have a set of rules governing the structure and combination of words to create meaningful expression. Grammar includes syntax or word order, morphology or word structure, and semantics or meaning. And then dialects and accents. Variation exists among speakers due to regional influence, leading to distinct dialects and accents. And then cultural transmission. It is a language hold cultural, historical, and traditional significance. Language are learned and passed down from one generation to another within a community. The transmission of language is a cultural phenomenon, and individuals acquire language through exposure and interaction with others. And then communication, ideas, and feelings. Language enable individuals to effectively convey thought and emotion. Language serve a social purpose, allowing individuals to communicate, express emotion, convey information, and engage in social interaction. It plays a crucial role in human relationship and societal organization. And then phonetics is all language possess consonant and vowel, and then syntax is a nearly all languages follow the subject, verb, object, word order. And then last is semantic. Language employ a limited set of semantic primitives to construct meaning. Second question is, give an example of a descriptive rule of grammar. Give an example of a perspective rule. Okay. So descriptive rules describe how a language is naturally spoken and written by its speakers. These rules are created due to observation of how people use the language in every communication. For example, in English, word order in a basic declarative sentence is subject, verb, object, or SVO. So the cat is subject, chase is verb, and the mouse is object. And then in perspective rules, on the other hand, dictate how a language should be used according to formal standards. They aim to establish a correct or proper way of using the language. On the other hand, a perspective rule in English is the proscription against splitting infinitives. Some style guides traditionally discourage splitting infinitives, suggesting that the infinitive form of a verb, for example, to run, should not have words placed between to and the verb. For example, to boldly go where no one has gone before. Traditional perspective grammar rules will dictate that the adverb boldly should not separate it in infinitive to go. Okay. Third question is, describe three aspects of form that grammars govern. Give an example of each. Okay, so our answer is morphology. This topic concerns the internal structure of words and how the smallest meaningful units or morphemes come together to create complex words. For example, unhappy. Un is meaning negation. Happy or root word, and ness is a suffix indicating a state. Syntax. This focus on how words are arranged and combined to form grammatically correct phrases and sentences. For example, happily. She was happily surprised by the gift. It can modify the adjective surprise to describe the nature of surprise. And phonology. This aspect pertains to the sound of language, encompassing individual sounds or phonemes, their combination, phonetics, and their role in speech prosody. For example, destination. Our plane's final destination is Tokyo. It means the final destination of a journey or process. Next question is, give an example of recursion. Describe evidence suggesting that some language lack recursion. Some language lack recursions, a linguistics feature where elements can be embedded within each other indefinitely. For example, piraha, spoken in the Amazon, is claimed to lack recursion. Evidence from language like piraha challenge in the idea that recursion is universal in language. Next question, how do continuity and discontinuity hypothesis differ? What evidence can you present for each hypothesis? Is there any evidence that calls either of them into question? Which hypothesis do you favor and why? So our question is, continuity refers to development is a gradual, ongoing process driven mostly by internal variables such as biology and learning. Individuals develop gradually and consistently throughout their lives, drawing on previous knowledge and experience. And then, in this continuity, emphasize the occurrence of distinct stages of development, which are primarily driven by external factors such as environmental influence and cultural standards. Individuals go through different stages based on specified criteria. Evidence continuity is longitudinal studies which follow people over time, over substantial support for the continuity theory. Studies show that individuals steadily develop skills and capacities across time, implying a smooth transition from one phase to another. And then this continuity. Cross-sectional research comparing persons of different ages provides support for the discontinuity theory. Researchers can identify unique patterns of development by evaluating change between cohorts, demonstrating that development occurs in stage. Then the challenge. Continuity, despite longitudinal studies imply continuity, this may miss unusual events or abrupt developmental transition. Furthermore, confounding variables may cause misinterpretation of data. And then the challenge in discontinuity, cross-sectional research may ignore small transition within a stage, resulting in a simplified view of developmental process. Furthermore, many studies may fail to prove causality due to various confounding factors. Given the abundance of empirical data favoring the continuity hypothesis, especially from longitudinal research, I tend towards its explanatory power, nonetheless, embracing the significance of this continuity enable a true knowledge of developmental process. Next question is, what kind of linguistic skills do non-human primates have? Should we think of them as knowing language? So our question is, non-human primates possess certain linguistic skills, but the extent to which they can be considered as knowing language is a topic of debate. Non-human primates, such as chimpanzees, bonobos, gorillas, and orangutans, exhibit some linguistic abilities, but they are quite limited compared to those of humans. While they can communicate using various forms, it's important to distinguish between communication and language as humans used to use it. Linguistic, linguistic skills observed in non-human primates are: first, communication. Non-human primates communicate using a variety of methods such as sounds, visual, message, and touching. And then sign language. Some studies have attempted to teach non-human primates a form of sign language, for example, using visual symbols or signs to represent objects, action, or concept. And then comprehension. Research has shown that certain primates demonstrate comprehension of language, such as understanding and responding to spoken or signed comments. And then vocalization. They have been found to produce vocal sounds of communication within their own species. Okay. Next question is, what evidence do we have that modern human language result from adaptation and natural selection? When did modern language first appear? What are the major factors that cause human language abilities to diverge from non-human primates? So, the evidence supporting the idea that modern humans' language result from adaptation and natural selection includes the universality of language acquisition, the complexity and structure of language, and the correlation between brain structures associated with language and cognitive functions. While the exact timing of the emergence of modern language is uncertain, it likely occurred tens of thousands of years ago, coinciding with the appearance of anatomically modern humans. Major factors that cause human language abilities to diverge from those of non-human primates include anatomical change facilitating speech production, specialized brain regions associated with language processing, the complexity of social interaction, the cognitive demands of tools use and cooperation, and the cultural transmission of language and knowledge across generations. These factors collectively contribute to the evolution of human language abilities. Okay. The last question in task 1 is, what is the relationship between language and thought? Describe evidence suggesting that general thinking abilities and language involve distinct sets of mental skills. Describe evidence suggesting that language influences the way humans think. Are there some things that you can't do if your language lacks the proper vocabulary? So our answer is, the link between language and thought is a complicated and continuous topic in psychology and psychology and linguistics. The Sapir-Whorf hypothesis proposes that language influences human thinking, while other theories argue that language and both are separate mental skills. Studies support the Sapir-Whorf theory, indicating that language influences the perception of color and temporal things between moments. However, other studies imply that language and mind are different. For example, research demonstrates that children construct concepts before they are able to speak. If a language lacks a sufficient vocabulary, it may be unable to express specific ideas or concepts. The Portuguese term saudade implies a complicated sensation of longing and melancholy that cannot be directly translated into English. It is crucial to remember, however, that language is not the primary way of communication. People may also express thoughts and concepts non-verbally. Okay, so that's our answer for task one. Thank you for your for your attention.